Welcome to the Wall Street Crossover Show, brought to you by Tip TV in conjunction with their sponsors, Admiral Markets. We don't have Darren Sinder, the market commentator, here today, unfortunately, but we've got Zach Meir from Share Profit. Zach, welcome. Making your debut on...
Yes, I finally managed to get here on time.
Yes.
Middle of the day.
You are a gentleman of uncanny timekeeping. Right, we've got a number of slides to go through. Let's kick off with data released over the European session. Mixed bag of European data. German retail sales for April, month on month, up 1.7% versus forecast 0.8%, so that's a good beat. France PPI for April, month on month, down 0.4% versus a forecast of plus 0.2%. And Spain Consumer Price Index, May, month on month, plus 5% versus a forecast of plus 2%. So Spain looks as if it's recovering. We've seen some good data. Again, France, we've had some better GDP numbers in the last couple of weeks. And in terms of German retail sales, well ahead of consensus.
Very encouraging indeed. It looks like the QE is working. Just even the thought of it is sort of brought, and obviously the Germans were the most reluctant on the QE front anyway.
Yeah. In terms of the Eurozone, it's been a super trade this year to buy Europe to sell the US. Okay, I saw some headlines today that basically the trade, somebody was suggesting, was buy Great Britain PLC ahead of Europe now, just because we seem to be in this holding pattern, don't we, around 7,000.
Well, I think it looks the UK looks undercooked compared to the other markets, so the performance of the other markets, but. We seem to do that on a sort of regular basis. So I don't know whether that's just too much of the mining sector just holding things back, and that unless that changes, I don't really see how the UK cannot outperform. That's the problem.
Understood. Okay, well, let's take a look at the FTSE 100 movers and shakers today. We've got two here. AB Foods up 2.68% on a Goldman upgrade, price target 31.20. We saw that on the main show that Hargreaves Lansdown highlighted. That was a decent upgrade because they basically reversed their position and gone long.
Yeah, if you're cynical, you could say they were sort of caught with a. I mean, they've been being short of AB Foods in the last year. It was just totally wrong. I mean, it's been a phenomenon with Primark anyway. Probably their best face-saving gesture there was actually to say, we're recommending it as a buy on the basis of Primark in the US. So it was a sort of a good face-saving device on that, and the market is appreciating it.
Yeah, up 2.68%. And Weir Group up 2.48%. Pumpmaker higher ahead of weekly Baker Hughes rig count data in the US tonight was positive for Weir last week. Obviously, this is an out-and-out oil play. This was a bit sort of...
Yes, I think, yes, I was going to mention that. It is, I think it'll never be out of that the frame of being a bid play. It's just that it's the right size and the right sort of position in its sector. So I think on weakness, it's normally a decent stock to get into.
Understood. A couple of words on crude. Up, down, sideways?
Dollar strength seems to be coming in, so I think it's a little bit more being hurt by that as well. It's being hurt by that as much as anything else.
Understood. Okay, so let's turn our attention to M&A rumours and movers. Intel said by the New York Post to be very close to bidding for Altera, the ticker on that ALTR space US. Deal would be worth $15 billion, valuing Altera at $54 per share versus a $46 close price last night. Would be Intel's largest ever deal through modest compared to its market cap of $160 billion. Intel Altera's standstill agreement from stall talks in March expires on June the 1st. So this sounds quite an interesting story. If announced today, this would take the total value for M&A in May to $100 billion US. So it really is quite juicy stuff going on at the moment.
Juicy stuff there. I suppose we had our own BG situation, but this is the driver really for the NASDAQ. The people who say that the NASDAQ's in a bubble, if the M&A continues, then it's not a bubble. So, and this looks like a sensible deal. It's not the sort of the big stuff.
Call it the top of the market, the Royal Bank of Scotland.
Exactly. So this is this looks like a decent strategic move and one to be appreciated.
Understood. Okay, so let's go on to the US data points to keep an eye on today. US GDP Q1 2015 forecast to be down 0.8%. The prior read was plus 2%. Chicago PMI May 53 forecast, a prior read of 52.3. And Michigan Consumer Sentiment forecast of 90.3, prior read of 88.6. In terms of trading, okay, are any of these important in the sense is it still all about the non-farm payrolls? Is anyone, are people from a technical and a trading perspective, keeping an eye on these levels and trading around them?
Well, I think a lot of this is rear view mirror stuff, especially the Q1 2015. That's just the severe winter blighted number, so that's not really helping anybody. I like the way that the consumer sentiment forecast there is through 90. That does sort of give a positive backdrop, but the markets there are already higher. I mean, the S&P has already been going well. I think there's a bit of profit taking now ahead of the non-farms next week. I mean, that is the main. There's only one bigger in town, basically, and that's
non-farm.
The
consumer sentiment in the UK is at a 9-year high at the moment.
Yeah, so that's going. That is going. It's reflected also
encouraging
in the US.
For the central bankers.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's wrap up with the US pre-market movers and some chart levels. Rosetta Stone, a mnemonic RST US is up nearly 6%. Interest at private equity at $9 to $10 per share in the language software group. Game group GME space US up just under 6%. Gaming retailer beats on EPS by 9 cents, 68 versus the forecast of 59. Levels to watch today. FTSE 100, we've got 7,000 level, old resistance, now new support, 7,100 to the upside. We've seen the primary trend analysis, a break of 7,100 according to the Colin Twiggs diary, target 8,000, which is obviously some way off. DAX 11,510 to the downside, 11,700 to the upside. Trading the DAX at the moment, I'm definitely too old for that. S&P, this 2100, 2120 area, key support. Today the level's 2113 below the market, 2125 above the market. And finally the Dow above basically support at 1850. I guess round number again, markets always tend to respect round numbers, so keep an eye on 18,000 and 18,155 to the upside. Anything to say on?
The first point is you're not too old to trade the DAX, because my father trades the DAX and he's 83, and
wow.
You're not 83.
Can we get him on the show?
Well, we'll wheel him in. And the second point there, I think the Dow 18,000 is a really big level now. That was the really big resistance, and that should hopefully be really big support there for the market. So see if that can remain intact across the non-farms next week. That will be quite a critical level, I think.
Understood. A few words about the currencies now. The euro dollar 109.47 to the downside, 109.91 to the upside. We've seen some selling of the currency this week. Aussie dollar, we expected in terms of the interest rate differential, we were looking for upside on the trading segment earlier in the week. 76.40 to the downside, 76.73 to the upside. Dollar yen onward and upwards. Stephen Woodcock, great call on this. Dollar yen 123.58 to the upside, to the downside. I beg your pardon, 123.58 to the downside, 124.45 to the upside, onward and upward there. And finally, cable 152.15 to the downside, 153 00s to the upside. Anything on the currencies caught you?
Just the sterling a little bit weaker than you probably would expect, but that's just
it was a 3-week closing low yesterday, wasn't it?
Yes, exactly. That looks a little bit more like it's the post-election rally is very much out of the picture, and risk I think at 150.
Understood. Okay, that wraps up the Wall Street Crossover Show. We will be back at 1 o'clock on Monday. Have a good weekend. If you want to come on the show, get in touch with us. If there's anything you want us to cover, please give us a shout. Have a good weekend. Thank you.